Hi, my name is Peter Kaczynski and I work for a company called MaxScheduler. We're continuing our web series for manufacturers and printers about software challenges they face with their businesses. We want to share our experiences. MaxScheduler has been in the business of scheduling software for 15 years. We've helped companies schedule around 300 million tasks. Myself, I'm a scheduling expert and product manager. My LinkedIn profile is there below. Today's chapter, we're going to jump into the negatives of enterprise software. By enterprise software, I mean MRP, ERP, WMS systems. Let's start off with some scary statistics. 50% of projects experience cost overruns. 60% experience scheduling overruns. 6% received half of the expected benefit from the ERP implementation. There's also a number say 50 to 75% I've heard of ERP implementations are failures. Another fact, it can take 6 months to 2 years to implement an enterprise software. That's quite a large investment. Myself, I have a background as a software developer, and one of the things it's kind of always bothered me about enterprise software systems is there really hasn't been an evolution in design. I'll give you an example. These are two screenshots of enterprise software. I believe they're MRP products. The top left is from the 90s. The bottom right is relatively a current cloud-based MRP software. And if you look at it, there's not that much difference between the two. And my point I'm getting to is that the design of these systems really hasn't been going through an evolution. Typically what you see is a whole bunch of text fields where you have to enter in values, and there's some kind of effectively a wiring behind the scenes that makes everything work. And sometimes that wiring can feel very mysterious. Sometimes you expect to be able to enter a certain value, but you can't. Sometimes you end up fighting these systems to accomplish what you want to do. To contrast this, think of what it's like to make use of Microsoft Word. You install the software, open it up, start typing. Feels very natural to pulling out a piece of paper and writing. So when you're using the software, you open it up, start typing. You want to print something or email it, you don't really need to break open a manual to figure out what to do. It's pretty intuitive. And it's bugged me that enterprise software hasn't reached that point. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be a while till we see progress in that area. Another tough thing about enterprise software is there's sometimes it's a gap between the way your business runs and how the software runs. And depending on the effectiveness of that implementation, that gap can be pretty large. And what you end up doing is you try to run your business one way, and then you sometimes end up having to fight the software to track that information or track that business process. One practical, one story about this is we recently worked with a customer. They're in the business of processing bolts. They do around 4 million a day. Yes, that's correct, 4 million a day. If you're going to process that many bolts each day, you want to do that in an organized manner. One of the way they do it is they track two numbers. They call it lot and bin numbers. In their situation, they bought a off-the-shelf MRP product, one of the more popular brands. I'm not going to mention who it was. They went through a sales and implementation process, and they ended up in the situation where the bin and lot numbers could not be tracked within this MRP software. And basically what happens is they had to throw the thing out. They were lucky enough to get their money back, or some of their money back. But I'm kind of surprised / not surprised that stuff like that can happen in the enterprise software space. Another challenge with enterprise software is you have to constantly keep the information kind of clean. If you start, in software, there's this kind of guiding principle, garbage in, garbage out. You can't expect a good productivity out of a piece of software if you keep on not putting the right information in. Going back to those design issues, what you can often see is it's awkward to carry out tasks with enterprise software. Another aspect of it, when you implement an enterprise system, your employees will be spending a lot of time in these systems, and you should be aware of this, and also balancing it with the idea of how much benefit are you getting out of the software systems. And I mentioned this point because sometimes you can kind of use these systems a bit more simply and get a lot more bang for your buck in balancing with the amount of time you put into it. If you put in all your information and try to keep everything up to date, it can take a lot of time on your part or your employee's part, and you might not get that much benefit out of it. Another aspect is, it's a huge investment to purchase and implement an MRP or enterprise software system. Uh, Once you've done that, there still are ongoing costs, such as support and upgrades. This is the end of the chapter. Thank you for your time. If you have any comments, questions, or interest in MaxScheduler or scheduling software, please reach out to us through maxscheduler.com. Have a good day.